something that's been on my thinking about all week. And we're kind of something we call a New Year's sermon. I don't know. Got some thoughts and scriptures I'm going to share with you. But I got a question first. How many of you made a New Year's resolution or resolution this year? The kids did. Yeah.
I don't make them because I break them.
That's me. Donna made one.
I made one to, I'm going to try to cook new things this year. Something I thought maybe I could keep.
What is a resolution? Resolution is a determination or decision process as to future action or change in action. You've been doing something one way, you want to change that. That sounds vaguely familiar. You were a senator, Washington senator, and you decided to make a conscious resolution to change, go in one direction and go away. Back the other way. I kind of looked up some funny resolutions that people have said, and some of these you might have to think about. They're kind of funny. Here's number one. I will think of a password other than password or hello when you like to. Number two. I will do less laundry and use more deodorant. You'll like this next one. I will avoid taking a bath whenever possible and conserve more water. For some people that might work. I resolve to work with neglected children, my own. Think about that. Always replace the gas nozzle before driving away from the pump. And have you seen that happen? I've seen it once. I will never take a sleeping pill and a laxative in the same night. Think about that.
That could be a problem.
I had to throw that one in there. Once I thought about it, it hit me really funny. Okay? So we have these people that make these resolutions. They say, I'm going to do something different for next year. Going through year by year is kind of like going through a book. You read this page, and then you go to the next. You never go back to what? Previous page. Let's read the book again. What has happened this year, or this past year, has already happened, and there's not anything you can do about it. Next year's a new page, a new chapter. Many of us can say we have faced issues in our family, relations with our friends, health situation, financial situation, job situation, and most importantly, our spiritual well-being. Okay? And we come to the end of the year, then we know that we've had times of joy, times of sorrow, times of success, and times of disappointment. Let me tell you something that happens in everybody's life. James 1, and you can turn there if you want to. I've used this verse many, many times. But it's very important. I keep it highlighted in my Bible. James 1, verses 2 through 4. And I want you to think about this. James is talking to the church. He's talking to Christian brethren. He says, consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Let me tell you something. When you became a born-again Christian, God did promise you a rose garden. And also remember, roses have thorns. Think about that for a minute. And what James is saying here, things are going to happen. We have these times of joy, times of sorrow, times of success, times of disappointment. Why do we have these things, especially bad things? One is just because stuff happens. We live in a degenerate, sinful world. We are aliens and travel through this world. And let me tell you something. Christians are not immune to bad things. Okay? A lot of people say, well, there were some Christians killed in Columbine and Christians killed in here, and a lot of these things that happened. And so, well, God was not with them. God was always there. Okay? But things are going to happen to us just because we live in this world. Plain and simple. he's a Christian, he has such a good thing going on. Do we really know that? Do we really know that, what's going on in our lives? Another reason that things happen to us is because God is molding us into something that he wants us to be. Kind of like hands, we're clay in the hands of the mighty potter. And as you see him, have you ever watched him make a pot? And every now and then you see that guy making that clay pot, just scoop it up, start all over again. Let me tell you something, the times of it's when God is dealing in our life. It's like that, huh? Do you see what I'm talking about? And each time the potter does that, he adds a little bit more clay or adds a little bit more water to make a better pot. Here's our problem today, is we don't realize that our light as Christians shine brighter during the storms than during the calm. If you want to show God and who he is, let your light shine during the tough times. Do they hurt? Oh, you bet. Do you cry? You bet. It's a disappointment? You bet. But let me tell you something, the best thing that can happen through a hard time is that your light shines for Christ to others. You know why people have a problem with Christianity? Because they don't see our light shine in the tough times. They don't see our light shine on. We're not the salt of the earth. Also, look at the word joy in James chapter 1. He says what? Consider it all what? Joy. J-O-Y. There's an acronym. Many have heard this. Joy means Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. We have a world that turns that around. I don't know what kind of word it would be. Y-O-J. Dodge. But we put ourselves first. We put others second, and Christ last. That has to be inverted. We get wrapped up in this world. We get wrapped up in the things, well, we all do. I'm just as guilty. And we forget to put Christ first. I was talking that a little bit to the young people this morning. A little time I could get them to be quiet about putting God first. You know, we got to talk about video games or watching TV and how much time and all that. We're all guilty. We spend too much time on it. Just as guilty. We have to put Christ first. We have to let our light shine. Now here's the bad thing about it. Satan likes stealing my joy. And I'm going to get to the main text. It's just the introduction. I'm just getting round up. My young people said I have to cut off 11:30, but I don't know if I'll make it now. We want to look back, go back, and stay the same. We want to look back, go back, and stay the same. Where did this happen? The nation of Israel. The people of Israel. You remember the story? God had protected the 12 sons of Israel, bring them into Egypt by Joseph. Remember him? God was sold into slavery. Then he becomes what? He had one of the head honchos there. So the whole nation truly moved into Egypt because there was famine elsewhere. There was plentiful in Egypt. And the nation of Israel grew and grew and grew. God had brought the nation of Israel into Egypt out of his grace to protect them. They also stayed there, they lived there, they built houses there, they raised families there, they had jobs there, they had businesses there. They had all the things. They'd been there for quite some time. Some 400 some odd years. Remember? But as time went on, the kings and pharaohs forgot about who Joseph was. And the people of Israel had been blessed and multiplied, and they were outnumbering those in Egypt. Exodus chapter 1. If you want to follow along. 8 through 16. Now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. He said to his people, behold, the people of the sons of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, or else they will multiply, and in the event of war, they will also join themselves to those who hate us, and fight against us, and depart from the land. So they appointed taskmasters over them to afflict them with hard labor, and they built for Pharaoh storage cities, Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread out, so that they were in the dread of the sons of Israel. The Egyptians compared the sons of Israel to labor rigorously, and it made their lives bitter with hard labor and mortar and brick, all kinds of labor. Egypt started going after the nation of Israel, not because of anything other than God had blessed them. But now the tide has turned. They had a good life. God had taken care of Israel. They had all these things. They had all their houses and Cadillacs and jobs. I don't know if they had Cadillacs back then, but you know what I'm talking about. All the things, good jobs. And all of a sudden, the king decides we're going to put a stop to this. And guess what? Puts them under torture, puts them under labor, going through all these things. The nation of Israel was doubting that God even loved them anymore, that God was even with them anymore. God had a plan, didn't he? Little baby called Moses, we're going to skip, know that story. There's some 430 years they lived there, and then we see that they're rescued and they're delivered in Exodus chapter 12. How have they done that? Come down, sent Moses back in there. Remember, he left, he was born and left 40 years to do sheep out in the desert, and didn't come back. God said, I'm going to give you to these people, you're going to be the deliverer. You're going to be my representative. So in Exodus chapter 12, see, they're rescued. They're taken out of the land of Egypt. Pharaoh didn't like it. But the people rejoiced at first, went in there, crossed the Red Sea, and did all these kind of things. And then they get in the desert, they're wandering around. God is providing what? What they needed was the first thing, manna. Oh, they weren't happy about that. They had to have what? Meat. Well, that's okay. We can get you the dove. Get you meat. Gave water and a rock that traveled with them. Put that in the scripture. Provided water for them. All these miraculous things. And if you think about the count of the nation at that time, we were like 2 or 3 million or more. Think about that for a minute. Moving across the desert. Now here's the key point. God says, I will deliver you because I have promised land what? For you. I have something better for you. And that was Canaan. The area called now Jerusalem, part of the promised land. He delivered them and said, we're headed to the promised land. But in order to get there, they have to do what? Go through some what? Tough times in the desert. Part of it was their disobedience. They were grumbling. They didn't like the food. They didn't like living in the tents. They didn't like this. They didn't like that. And if you stop and think about it, God was actually giving them everything they wanted. So, look, you're going to have to go through this right now. But on the other side is what? Let me tell you something. We don't know what this next year is going to provide. The Israelites didn't know exactly what this promised land. They sent spies in there, didn't they? Had a look at it. Can't come back to home. Who can't do that, people? Two said, hey, it's the power of God. Let me tell you something what the different view was. Two believed that they could do anything. The grace and love and power of the Lord Jesus Christ was God. Okay? The other 10 what? Looked at their own self-inefficiency. God can take the least important and make him the most powerful. Okay? And we see here that they grumbled, even though God provided. They grumbled and wanted to go back. How many of you wanted to go back? Oh, I wish it was last year. I wish it was 5 years ago. You know what? I haven't seen anybody be able to go back in time. Even though they got movies about time machine stuff, we cannot go back to the last page. We cannot go back to the last year, 5 years, 10 years. But God says, look, even though you've come through some tough times, there were some good things in there. If you think about it, do you ever think about that when you talk a little about the bad times, there are good times? Each time you have a bad time, God is strengthening you and getting you ready for what He has for you. And here's another thing. If God has called you or wanted you to do something and you didn't do it, I'm going to tell you, right here's a witness of it. He called you to do something, He's going to get you there. Now you can go easy, or you can go hard. I'm going to tell you something right now. God's going to knock you down and take you. God had to deal with Israel 40 years in the desert to a point they were ready to enter the promised land. They were wanting to grumble. They wanted to go back. You can't go back. You know what they wanted to go back to? They wanted to go back to their past relationship with the Egyptians under forced labor. We sometimes want to go back to our past sin, or whatever that is. I'm not pointing any fingers. We want to go back to past bad relationships. We want to go back to past jobs or occupations or something we did in the past. We sometimes want to go back to past activities, whatever they might be. Let me tell you something. A lot of times, a lot of these things you're going back to are not necessarily bad, but it's not what God wants you to do. And God's going to get you there even if you got to put you in the desert for 40 years. This next year is a new page, it's a new chapter in your life. You do not want to be caught wanting to go back. Now, does it hurt? I'm sure the nation of Israel was hurting because they were looking back. They were looking back because their eyes were not open to what God had for them on the next day or year. Now, you say, Rick, how do we look forward? And I wrote a few thoughts down here. Number one, put God first in your life. Put God first. You know, I was talking to young people this morning, talking about David as he was dying. I was talking to his son Solomon there. And he says, son, here's what you need to do. Put God first. There's several things that keep the commandments and traditions and all this kind of stuff. But basically boils down, put God first and He will bless you. That don't mean He's going to bless you financially or this or that. What He's saying is He's going to bless you. How are we blessed? As born again believers, where's our promised land? We're heaven bound, my friend. That's our promised land. And we're going to have to go through a lot of stuff to get there. But while we get there, we need to let our light shine. Number two, put others first in our life. Whether it be your spouses, your husbands, your kids, your neighbors, those here in the church body, put them first. Okay? Put them first. Number two, we need to love others as God loved us. How did God love us? He sent His Son to what? Die on the cross. How many of you got a son? If someone come up there and told you, or even your daughter, let's just make it down to a kid, okay? He says, Rick, I want you to take your son or daughter, and I want you to kill them for these wicked millions of people that will save them. My first thing is that you've got to be kidding. My son and daughter worked for that. But let me tell you something. God so loved us that He sent His Son to die on a cross for us, the supreme sacrifice. So we need to love others as God loved us. We need to be willing to give of ourselves. God loved you no matter who you are, what you did, or where you came from. Did you know that? He loves sinners. Part of love is forgiveness. Maybe there's something from last year that you need to approach with family and friends and work co-workers or whatever and ask for it. Number two, you also need to give it. Now, I'm not saying you, somebody said, no, Rick, I can forgive someone, I have more time forgiving. You know, that is true. As human beings, we can not be able to forgive, but we can learn to forgive. Let me tell you something. Forgiveness and love heals all relationships. Between husband and wife, between parents and kids, between church family members, and on and on and on. Here's another thing you need to do. You may forgive someone, they still may mistreat you, but you still love and forgive them. God loved and forgave us through His Son, even though so many of us have turned our backs on Him. Think about that for a minute. He forgave us, but we turned our backs. We all have. Number three, be willing for God to work in your life. Maybe it might be a new focus. Maybe it may be a new direction. Our focus should be Jesus Christ and all other things. I was talking to kids, we're talking about, does God require us to attend every church function? Does God require us to read the Bible a certain amount of time a day? On and on and on. And I basically told them God requires of us to put Him first and let Him dictate what you're going to do. He may dictate something to me different from what you do, vice versa. New direction means you may have to leave things behind. That year is gone. That, whatever it is gone. It's back there and you can't go back. You can't go back. New direction may include some pain, some heartbreak. But you know what? You know what heals a broken heart? That's the love of Jesus Christ. That's the love of Jesus Christ. New direction may mean renewing broken relationships with friends or neighbors or church family members or whatever. New direction may mean having a deeper relationship with God. This is the most important one. Where is your relationship with Jesus Christ? I'm talking to kids about praying and studying God's Word. Let me tell you something. A little meat from the Word, just a verse or two a day, makes a worthwhile relationship with Christ. One, two verses. Maybe it might be a proverb, it might be whatever. But let me tell you something. You got to get God's Word. You need help into the God's Word. It can help you here. Okay? It can help you here. I'm asking this morning, where are you at? Are you still trying to go back? Are you still trying to look back? Are you still trying to have regrets? Are you still trying to see what went wrong? It's always good to evaluate things. Okay? But let me tell you something, you can't go back. You can't go back. All you can do is look forward. I'm going to tell you something. You look forward not through your physical eyes, but through the spiritual. Now you say, well, Rick, you sound like you got to get up to tell you something. I know. I can tell you some stuff about you. Listen, I'm going to go back. God says so. God says so. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not really bad. If you're not doing God's will, no matter what you do, good or bad, especially on the good side, well, God, I'm up here doing rich in the teeth. I'm up here doing, I'm taking care of my neighbors. And God said, well, I got something else to do. God calls each and every one of us to unique things in our life. Because He wants our life to shine. That relationship with Jesus Christ is a personal one-on-one between you and God, between Christian God, learning God, whatever. What He has for you is different than what He has for everybody. We can't all be Moses. We can't all be Joseph. We can't all be whoever we think we should be. God wants us to be individuals under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Sometimes it's going to look weird. People just don't understand that. But you know what? you let our light shine, it will be a great new year. Whether there's pain, whether there's sorrow, whether there's disappointment, God will say, count it all joy. Joy. Let's pray. Then, Father, I want to thank you